It was a crisp, quiet morning in rural Alabama. The kind of morning where the mist clings low to the roads and the only sound is the occasional whistle of birds or the hum of distant traffic. Brigadier General Maurice M.O. Davis was driving his black SUV down a two-lane country highway. He was heading to Fort Rucker to give a guest lecture on leadership and integrity to a group of young cadets. General Davis, a tall, composed man in his early 50s, wore a plain black tracksuit and a ball cap pulled low over his forehead. His military ID sat in the console next to him. No ribbons, no uniform today, just a man off duty, with decades of service etched into the lines of his face and the calm precision of his movements. He passed through the small town of Bradford, a town with one diner, one gas station, and a police department that hadn't seen much excitement since the 4th of July parade. As he eased through the town square, he noticed the flashing lights in his rearview mirror. He checked his speed. 35 in a 35. He signaled, pulled over, and rolled down his window. That's when trouble walked up to the driver's side. Officer Dan Whitaker. Local cop, mid-40s, known for his tough policing style. A man with a reputation for profiling, especially when it came to out-of-towners who didn't look like they belonged. He approached the SUV with his hand on his hip. "License and registration," he said flatly, eyes narrowed. "Yes, officer," General Davis replied calmly, handing over his military ID along with his driver's license. "May I ask why I'm being stopped?" Whitaker looked at the ID. Then back at Davis. Then back again. His eyes narrowed further. "Military ID, huh," he scoffed. "This yours?" "Yes," Davis said. "I'm a brigadier general with the United States Army." Whitaker sneered. "You expect me to believe that?" Davis said nothing. He'd been here before, not this exact situation, but enough moments like it to know the script. "Step out of the vehicle." "Officer, I haven't done anything wrong." "You resisting?" The words hung in the air like poison. Whitaker had already unfastened the holster strap on his sidearm. Davis sighed. Slowly, deliberately, he opened the door and stepped out. Tall, solid, dignified. That's when Whitaker shoved him against the SUV, twisted his arms behind his back, and slapped on the cuffs. "Driving a stolen vehicle, impersonating a military officer, and resisting arrest. You're gonna have a long day, General." Davis didn't fight. Didn't yell. He just said quietly, "You're making a mistake." He was thrown into the back of the squad car and driven to the Bradford Police Department. No one checked the ID. No one asked questions. They just tossed him in a holding cell, as Whitaker strutted around, proud of the bust he thought he just made. Hours passed. Davis sat silently, legs crossed, eyes closed. Finally, the desk sergeant, a young officer named Carter, walked by. He glanced at Davis's ID, which Whitaker had left on the counter. And then he stopped. He picked it up. "Read it again." His eyes widened. Sir." "General Davis," he said, hurrying over to the cell. "Is this really your ID?" Davis opened his eyes slowly. "It is." Carter swallowed. "Why didn't you say something?" "I did," Davis said calmly. "Your colleague chose not to listen." Carter sprinted to the office phone and dialed the number on the back of the ID, a Pentagon contact number reserved for emergency military communications. The call was routed to the Army Operations Center. 10 minutes later, the world changed. Phones began to ring off the hook. First came a call from the Pentagon watch officer, asking for the name of the person who detained General Davis. Then came the commanding general of Fort Rucker himself, demanding answers. Then came the governor's office. And then, a direct call from Secretary of the Army. Officer Whitaker returned from his break to find the entire station in chaos. His smug expression faded as Carter, pale-faced, told him who he'd arrested. You arrested a sitting brigadier general, Carter said. He's a decorated officer. Served in Iraq, Afghanistan. Bronze Star. Presidential Unit Citation. What were you thinking? Whitaker stammered. He didn't look like a general. Because what? He's black. Carter snapped. Because he was driving a nice car? Dressed down? That's your excuse. Whitaker tried to bluster his way through it, but the damage was done. Within an hour, General Davis was out of his cell. A black SUV from Fort Rucker picked him up personally. As he left, he turned to Whitaker, who stood silently near the entrance. I served this country so you'd have the freedom to wear that badge, Davis said. But freedom without responsibility? That's just chaos in uniform. Then he walked out tall, composed, unstoppable. Within days, Whitaker was suspended pending investigation. The story hit local news, then national. Calls for reform and accountability surged through Alabama's small-town police departments. And General Davis? He didn't seek revenge. He simply gave his lecture at Fort Rucker. The topic? Real leadership means listening even when you think you know everything. And that one phone call, that single ring to the Pentagon, reminded everyone watching that respect isn't worn. It's earned. And that the stars on a uniform mean more than the prejudices in a narrow mind.